cowboy walks into a bar and sits down next to a very attractive woman. He gives her a quick glance, then casually checks his watch. Noticing this, the woman smiles and asks, "Is your date running late?" "No," the cowboy replies. "I've just got this state-of-the-art watch and I was testing it." Intrigued, she asks, "A state-of-the-art watch? What's so special about it?" He leans in and says, "It uses alpha waves to talk to me telepathically." "Oh, really?" she laughs. "What's it telling you now?" The cowboy looks at his watch and says, "It says you're not wearing any panties." The giggle giggles. "Well, it must be broken because I am wearing panties." The cowboy smiles, taps his watch, and mutters, "Damn thing's an hour fast." A man takes off his shirt in the gym. A blonde comes up to him and says, "Wow, what a great chest you have." The man replies, "That's 100 pounds of dynamite, babe." The man then takes off his pants. The blonde says, "Wow, what great calves you have." The man then replies, "That's 200 pounds of dynamite, babe." The man then takes off his underwear. The blonde runs off screaming in fear. When the man catches up to her, he asks, "Why did you run away?" The blonde replies, "I didn't want to be around all that dynamite when I saw how short the fuse was." A married couple went to the hospital to have their baby delivered. Upon their arrival, the doctor said he had invented a new machine that would transfer a portion of the mother's labor pain to the father. He asked if they were willing to try it out. They were both very much in favor of it. The doctor set the pain transfer to 10% for starters, explaining that even 10% was probably more pain than the father had ever experienced before. But as the labor progressed, the husband felt fine and asked the doctor to go ahead and kick it up a notch. The doctor then adjusted the machine to 20% pain transfer. The husband was still feeling fine. The doctor checked the husband's blood pressure and was amazed at how well he was doing. At this point, they decided to try for 50%. The husband continued to feel quite well. Since the pain transfer was obviously helping out the wife considerably, the husband encouraged the doctor to transfer all the pain to him. The wife delivered a healthy baby with virtually no pain. She and her husband were ecstatic. When they got home, the mailman was dead on the porch. A math teacher, a gym teacher, and a stoner die and arrive in heaven at the same time. God tells them that heaven is full and they will have to trick the devil to be let in. God calls the devil, and the devil comes in and introduces himself. The math teacher tries first and gives him a hard equation. The devil solves it in 10 seconds and the teacher is sent to hell. The gym teacher asks him to do 1,000 push-ups in a row without stopping. The devil does it without stopping and the gym teacher is sent to hell. The stoner then says, "Give me a chair with 7 holes carved in it." The devil hands him the chair. The pothead sits down on it and farts. He asks the devil, "What hole did the fart come out of?" The devil replies, "Easy, the 3rd one." The stoner then says, "No, my asshole," and then makes his way to heaven. A drunk gets up from the bar and heads for the bathroom. A few minutes later, a loud, blood-curdling scream is heard from the bathroom. A few minutes after that, another loud scream reverberates through the bar. The bartender goes into the bathroom to investigate why the drunk is screaming. "What's all the screaming about in there? You're scaring the customers." "I'm just sitting here on the toilet, and every time I try to flush, something comes up and squeezes the hell out of my testicles." With that, the bartender opens the door, looks in, and says, "You idiot, you're sitting on the mop bucket." A respectable lady approaches her priest after church and confides her worrying problem. "Father, I have 2 female talking parrots, but they only know how to say one sentence." "And what do they say?" the priest asks. "They only say, 'Hi, fellas, we're prostitutes. Peckers at the ready if you want to have some fun.'" "That's terrible," the priest exclaims, "but I have a solution. Bring your parrots to my house. I'll put them with my 2 male talking parrots, Frank and Stan. I've taught them to pray and read the Bible. They'll teach your parrots to stop that ungodly talk and learn to praise and worship." "Oh, thank you and bless you, Father," the woman replies. The next day, she brings her parrots to the priest's house. Frank and Stan are in their cage, holding rosary beads and praying. She places her 2 female parrots into the cage. Immediately, they say, "Hi, fellas, we're prostitutes. Peckers at the ready if you want to have some fun." Frank looks over at Stan and squawks, "Put the beads away, Stan. Our prayers have been answered." Girlfriend asks Navneil at breakfast time, "Would you like some eggs, a slice of toast, and maybe some mango juice and coffee?" He declines. "Thanks for asking, but I'm not hungry right now. It's this Viagra," he says. "It's really taken the edge off my appetite." At lunchtime, she asks him if he would like something. "How about a bowl of soup, homemade muffins, or a cheese sandwich?" He declines. "The Viagra," he says, "has really spoiled my need for food." Come dinner time, she asks if he wants anything to eat. "Would you like a rotisserie chicken or tasty stir-fry?" He declines again. "No," he says, "it's got to be the Viagra. I'm still not hungry." "Well," she says, "would you mind getting off me? I'm bloody starving." One day, the wife comes home with a spectacular diamond ring. "Where did you get that ring?" her husband asks. "Well," she replies, "my boss and I played the lottery and we won, so I bought it with my share of the winnings." A week later, his wife comes home with a long, shiny fur coat. "Where did you get that coat?" her husband asks. She replies, "My boss and I played the lottery and we won again, so I bought it with my share of the winnings." Another week later, his wife comes home driving a flaming red Ferrari. You guessed it, her share of the lottery winnings. That night, the wife asks her husband to run her a nice warm bath while she gets undressed. When she enters the bathroom, she finds that there is barely enough water in the bath to cover the bath plug. "What the f*** is this?" she asks her husband. "Well," he replies, "we don't want to get your frickin' lottery ticket wet, do we?" A lawyer married a woman who had previously divorced 5 husbands. On their wedding night, she told her new husband, "Please be gentle, I'm still a virgin." "What?" said the puzzled groom. "How can that be if you've been married 5 times?" "Well, husband 1 was a sales representative. He kept telling me how great it was going to be. Husband 2 was an engineer. He understood the basic process, but wanted 3 years to research, implement, and design a new state-of-the-art method. Husband 3 was in marketing. Although he had a nice product, he was never sure how to position it. Husband 4 was a psychologist. All he ever did was talk about it. Husband 5 was a stamp collector. All he ever did was... God, I miss him. But now that I've married you, I'm really excited." "Good," said the lawyer, "but why?" "You're a lawyer," she replies. "This time I know I'm going to get screwed." An 80-year-old woman sat at the bar in Harpoon Harry's, waiting for her husband. As she sipped her drink, a strikingly handsome man walked in, exuding confidence. He took a seat a few spots away, and she couldn't help but notice how attractive he was, so much so that she found herself staring. After a moment, the man caught her gaze. With a charming smile, he stood and approached her. Before she could apologize for staring, he leaned in and, with a low, velvety voice, said, "I'll do anything you want. Anything you can imagine, no matter how wild or unusual, I'll make it happen. All I ask for is $100 in cash. And there's one more condition." Still in shock, she managed to ask, "What's the condition?" He smiled knowingly, leaning closer. "You have to tell me what you want in just 3 words. The woman paused, her mind racing. Then, with a calm expression, she reached into her handbag, pulled out $100, and placed it in his hand. Looking him straight in the eye with a mischievous grin, she slowly said, "Paint my house." An old man and a young woman are trapped in an elevator. The woman asks, "Sir, what would you do if you thought you only had 20 minutes to live?" The old man thinks for a moment and replies, "Well, I'd probably make a move on you." Shocked, the woman says, "Oh my God, why would you do that?" The old man smiles and says, "Because if I didn't, I'd spend the last 20 minutes of my life wishing I had." 3 women, 2 younger and 1 senior citizen, were sitting in a sauna only covered by a towel. Suddenly, there was a beeping sound. The young woman pressed her forearm and the beep stopped. The others looked at her questioningly. "That was my pager," she said. "I have a microchip under the skin of my arm." A few minutes later, a phone rang. The second young woman lifted her palm to her ear. When she finished, she explained, "That was my mobile phone. I have a microchip in my hand." The older woman felt very low-tech. Not to be outdone, she decided she had to do something just as impressive. She stepped out of the sauna and went to the bathroom. She returned with a piece of toilet paper hanging from her rear end. The others raised their eyebrows and stared at her. The older woman finally said, "Well, will you look at that? I'm getting a fax." A blonde woman was driving along the highway about 2 hours outside San Diego when she saw a man waving her down. His truck was parked on the shoulder, clearly broken down. As she rolled down her window, the man approached and asked, "Are you headed to San Diego?" "Sure am," she replied. "Great. I don't need a ride for myself. I'll be stuck here fixing my truck for hours, but I've got 2 chimpanzees in the back, and they need to get to the San Diego Zoo. They're already stressed, and I don't want to keep them waiting. Could you take them for me? I'll pay you $200 for the trouble." The blonde thought for a moment and said, "Sure, I'd be happy to help." The man carefully loaded the chimpanzees into the back seat of her car, strapped them in with seat belts, and handed her the cash. Off she went, heading toward the zoo. About 5 hours later, the man's truck was finally fixed and he was driving through downtown San Diego when he spotted a scene that made his jaw drop. There was the blonde, walking down the street hand in hand with the 2 chimps. A huge crowd had gathered, laughing and snapping photos. He slammed on the brakes, jumped out of his truck, and ran over to her. "What are you doing?" he yelled. "I gave you $200 to take those chimpanzees to the zoo." "I did," she said, smiling. "But we had money left over, so now we're going to SeaWorld." A man was having some stomach pains, so he went to see his doctor. The doctor looked him over and declared, "Sir, you have a tapeworm. Please come back in 3 days and bring a banana." The man is confused, but he trusts the doctor, so he returns in 3 days with a banana. The doctor tells the man to take off his pants and bend over, whereupon the doctor introduces the banana into the man's system. The man is shocked. The doctor says, "Excellent job. Now please come back in 3 days with another banana." The man trusts his doctor, so in 3 days he returns with another banana. The doctor again asks the man to remove his pants, and again he introduces the banana into the man's system. The man is extremely confused, but his stomach pains aren't as bad anymore, so he will continue to follow his doctor's orders. The doctor says, "Great job. Now please come back in 3 days with a hammer." The man returns with a hammer 3 days later. He is extremely confused, but upon seeing the doctor, he receives his instructions. "Please take off your pants and lie on your side on the examination table," says the doctor. The man lies there for a few minutes with his rear end bare. The doctor breathlessly grips the hammer and waits. The tapeworm pops out of the man's butthole, looks at the doctor, and says, "Hey, where the f*** is my banana?" An engineer dies, and ends up in hell. Engineers don't usually end up there, so the devil is pretty surprised. Hell, as expected, is a mess. The AC is broken, the pool is empty, the roads are falling apart, and everything is miserable. After some time, the engineer starts fixing things. The AC works again, the pool is full, roads are repaired, and suddenly, hell is comfortable. Eventually, God looks down and notices people in hell actually enjoying themselves. Confused, he calls the devil and asks, "What's going on?" The devil replies, "That engineer you sent us has been fixing things. He's doing wonders down here." God exclaims, "What? Engineers don't go to hell? That must have been a mistake. You have to give him back. He belongs in heaven." The devil crosses his arms and says, "No way. We like our engineer." God says, "If you don't give him back, I'll sue you." The devil grins and replies, "Yeah, good luck with that. Where are you going to get a lawyer?" A husband and wife were celebrating 50 years together, so their 3 kids agreed to a Sunday dinner in their honor. "Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad," said son number 1, a tech executive. "Sorry I'm late. System outage. Didn't have time to get you a gift." "That's fine," said the father. "We're just happy you're here." Next arrived son number 2, a real estate developer. "Flew in between deals. No time to shop," he said. "No problem," said the father. "Glad you made it." Then their daughter, a corporate consultant, arrived. "Happy anniversary. I've been slammed with deadlines and packing for a trip, so no gift." After dessert, the father stood up and said, "There's something your mother and I have wanted to tell you for a long time. We were very poor back then, but we worked hard and managed to send each of you to college. We loved each other deeply, but we never found the time to actually get married." The 3 kids gasped. "You mean we're bastards?" "Yep," said the father, "and cheap ones, too." A man and his wife were traveling down the highway when they saw the lights of a patrol car behind them. When they pulled over, the patrolman came up to the window and said, "I'm going to give you 2 tickets, one because you were speeding and one because you didn't have your seatbelt fastened." The man said, "I did have my seatbelt fastened. I just loosened it when you came up to the car." The patrolman said to the man's wife, "I know he didn't have his seatbelt fastened. Isn't that right, lady?" She replied, "Well, officer, I learned a long time ago not to argue with my husband when he's drunk." A man wakes up and finds himself in a hospital room, one with only himself in it. He has no recollection of how he got there. While pondering it, his bedside phone rings, and he answers it. A doctor on the other end identifies himself and tells the man, "I have really bad news. You're very sick. After your collapse yesterday, we ordered several tests and got the results back this morning. I'm afraid you have avian flu and Ebola, and you're positive for HIV and hepatitis." Stunned, the man asks, "What's next? What are you going to do?" The doc replies, "Well, for starters, we're putting you on a strict diet of only pizza." The patient asks, "Will that really help me, doctor?" "No," the doc responds, "but it's all we can fit under the door." I was on vacation in Las Vegas, playing the slot machines. It was my first time in a casino, and I wasn't sure how any of the machines operated. "Excuse me," I said to a casino employee, "how does this work?" The worker showed me how to insert a bill, hit the spin button, and operate the release handle. "And where does the money come out?" I asked. He smiled and motioned to a far wall before saying, "Usually at the ATM." Benjamin is in the midst of a long dry spell in Las Vegas. Eventually, he gambles away all his money and has to borrow a quarter from another gambler just to use the men's room. He finds a stall that happens to be open and pockets the quarter. Believing that his luck has finally changed, he puts the quarter in a slot machine and hits the jackpot. He takes his winnings and goes to the blackjack table and turns his modest winnings into $1,000,000. Wealthy beyond his wildest dreams, Benjamin goes on the lecture circuit where he tells his incredible story. He tells his audiences that he will always be eternally grateful to his benefactor, and if he ever finds the man, he will share his fortune with him. After months of speaking, a man in the audience jumps up and says, "I'm that man. I was the one who gave you the quarter." "Yes, I remember you well, but you aren't the one I'm looking for. I mean the guy who left the stall door open." A woman is at her boyfriend's parents' house for dinner. This is her first time meeting the family, and she is very nervous. They all sit down and begin eating a fine meal. The woman is beginning to feel a little discomfort, thanks to her nervousness and the broccoli casserole. The gas pains are making her eyes water. Left with no other choice, she decides to relieve herself a bit and lets out a dainty fart. It wasn't loud, but everyone at the table heard the poof. Before she even had a chance to be embarrassed, her boyfriend's father looked over at the cat that had been snoozing at the woman's feet and said in a rather stern voice, "Bubbles." The woman thought, "This is great," and a big smile came across her face. A couple of minutes later, she was beginning to feel the pain again. This time, she didn't even hesitate. She let a much louder and longer fart rip. The father again looked at the cat and yelled, "Damn it, Bubbles!" Once again, the woman smiled and thought, "Yes." A few minutes later, the woman had to let another one rip. This time, she didn't even think about it. She let rip a fart that rivaled a train whistle blowing. Once again, the father looked at the cat with disgust and yelled, "Damn it, Bubbles, get away from her before she shits on you."